Hello, welcome to the When I Have Spare Time podcast. My name is Frank, and I'll be sitting here talking to you for a few minutes. As usual, I'm wearing clothes. I'm wearing a pullover that I got from Public Spaces. It's a local fashion, company that is based in downtown LA, made by illegal aliens who get paid 3 cents an hour in a warehouse. Yes, I love high fashion. Anyway, I believe this is show number 50 in this current season of the When I Have Spare Time podcast. As you know, each season has 60 shows minimum. Some seasons have less because YouTube took those shows away, and some have a lot more. But like I said, it's a minimum, but whatever. Anyway, um, I'll start working on the next addition to the best of When I Have Spare Time podcast. As you know, at the near the end of each season, I prepare the best of because I add, the best of. Anyway, if you look on this whatever YouTube channel, there's a playlist called the best of When I Have Spare Time podcast, and I believe it has seasons 1 through 6 on it. And so I'll add season 7. I could be off on a season, whatever. Anyway, if you want to hear the best 20 shows of each season, you go to the When I Have Best of Spare Time podcast, and you can, get the best of all, from season 1 to season whatever. Anyway, as you know, I laugh at other people's plight because I'm a horrible person. So apparently in Ukraine right now, I don't mean the war. I mean, no one likes war, unless you're Lex Luthor or a gay Superman. But anyway, there's in Ukraine, you're not allowed to leave the country if you're a man between the ages 16 and 60 because they want you to stay and fight. Makes sense, I get it. But apparently thousands of transgendered people, thousands of men who dress up as women are not allowed to leave the country. Um, yeah, well, because they're men. So, I mean, the law is if you're between the age of 16 and 60 and a man, you're not allowed to leave the country. You have to stay and fight. So thousands, apparently, thousands of transgendered women haven't been allowed to leave the country because the law is if you're a man between the age of 16 and 60, you have to stay and fight. So thousands of transgendered women. Yes, a guy in a dress is not a real woman. So I don't know why this is a news story. It's not. You're a man. I mean, it's just the law. I mean, you know what you have to do? You have to leave the country in a different way. So instead of crossing the official border, you're gonna have to take some back roads. You're gonna have to hike it. I mean, that's just common sense right there. If I was a transgendered woman living in a country where it said men between the ages 16 and 60 have to stay and fight, and in my crazy mind, I'm like, well, I'm a chick. So I probably can't leave the same way all the other chicks are leaving. I would I guess, take the backwoods. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but just the fact that it's a story. I've seen all these stories online where people are interviewing pictures, and I've seen pictures, but just people interviewing and doing fluff pieces, character pieces, whatever, interpersonal stories, whatever it's called, on these women, quote unquote, who aren't able to leave. And then there's some stories about some women, I mean some fake women who have been able to get out, but a lot haven't. But I mean, it makes sense. But here's the thing. This is the problem I have with it. I don't have a problem with biology. There's only two genders, two sexes. Men are men, women are women. Women have two X chromosomes. Men have an X and a Y chromosome. That's just science. All this other bullshit it's just bullshit. But here's the thing: if I'm whatever in charge and making the laws and stuff, if there's a transgender woman who's trying to leave, I want that person to leave. I don't want that person to fight for the country. I would be more than happy to let all the transgenderisms out. Because why do you want that fighting? Listen, I've never been to war. I've had a couple of horrible girlfriends. It's a mental strain, this thing called war. Yeah. So do you want someone with a already unstable seesaw of a brain with a gun under pressure and other people's lives are dependent on this person who is playing pretend? No. No, get out. I don't want this person. Think about the mental conflict going inside that person's head right now. And you want to toss in military equipment protecting your fellow soldier next to you, fighting for the survival of your country. You want that thing doing that? No, I don't. That person will probably get more people killed than actually, I guess being cannon fodder. That person's like mental instability will probably get more people killed or do more damage to your cause than anything. Let them live. This has nothing to do with trans rights. It's just common sense to me. Why would you want a psychopath, a crazy person, a person with a mental disorder with a gun, fighting for your country? Get him out. And I know Ukraine has, lots of problems. Every country has lots of problems. Apparently there's a bunch of Nazis in Ukraine. I was watching video, and once again, is it real? Is it real? All those pictures of the Ukrainian soldiers with the flag, the 1942 flag. Is it real? But I don't know. But I've seen a lot of pictures of it. I've also seen a video of oh god, I saw this. So I saw this one video of a children's school, like the school play, where they were making fun of Jews and like Zeke Halen. I mean, it looked legit, but once again, I don't trust anything I see from the media. I'm just telling you what I saw, and I saw a couple of different videos. So unless a lot of people are faking it, but anyway, so I'm saying every country has problems, but the thing is, I don't care about, like, this isn't about rights. Like, the country does have, I guess, horrible LGBTP, every other made up thing you could think of rights. But this isn't about the rights. This is about protecting your fellow soldiers, protecting the country. So if you have able-bodied men on the front lines, do you want them next to some dude in a wig who is pretending to be a girl the whole time? I shouldn't be here. I'm a girl. Do you want to hear that in the front lines as you're dodging bullets, tossing grenades, hiding from tanks? No. Let them out. I mean, like, sometimes you have to, like, I guess, let go of logic because, they are really men, but, like, you're dealing with people who aren't dealing with logic, who aren't dealing with reality. So if you're in a life and death situation, reality comes first. And so reality and logic are like, okay, I'm dealing with a person who's not thinking straight. No pun intended, but it actually was intended. You're dealing with a person who's not thinking straight in a life and death situation. It's probably in my best interest, our best interest, the country's best interest to kick them out the country. Let them go. Just let them go. Well, that's my way of thinking. Because it's really not about rights. Because, like, all these articles I'm reading, it's about, like, trans rights are being stepped on and blah, 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 blah. They're being held prisoner in their own country. They're, victims. It's not about that. It's like, there's a war going on. We don't have time to play pretend. Shit's getting real. Shit's been real. If you have a bunch of people living in Fantasyland, let them stay there, kick them out. They're gonna last 3 seconds out there anyway. You know. So I just can't believe it's a story, and then it's covering up probably stories that are more relevant. But here's the thing: can you still believe anything you hear anyway? So it's almost pointless to even talk about these stories because that's how bad the media is. It's like every story. It's like I well, I'm hearing it from the media, so it's probably not true, and that's sad. I mean, the last numbers I heard was like the Russian side had lost like 40,000 soldiers. I have no idea if that's true. No idea. I got that from GBN News. GBN News is a independent news source, but then they even said they got it from a source from Ukraine, and they're like, well, we can't trust it because you know every story you're getting out of there is BS. But I do recommend listening or watching GBN News because yeah, yeah, Bridget, I did. Okay, I'm recording right now. I knew that would happen. I guess you can't hear me talking. Anyway, um, we're gonna leave that in because that's funny. Um, I can't believe that. I guess she thinks I'm talking to myself. I mean, I do a podcast, so if I'm talking to myself, or maybe she thinks I'm crazy. Anyway, I recommend GBN News because GBN they are a well, I call them an independent news source because when they tell you the news, they tell you like their sources, and then they tell you if they can trust their sources. So that's why I do repeat a lot of stuff I get from GBN News. So that's one news source you can probably, well, and once again, you could do your own research too. And also, the other news source I would recommend is actually Breaking Points because they're actually another source where they say, well, you might have to take this with a grain of salt, And also, both of those news sources, you know, they they're not like a echo chamber for either side of the political spectrum. So if a Republican does something stupid, they'll tell you, or if a Democrat, like put it this way, they're not going to hide the Biden laptop story. And it's another thing. What I don't get is the Biden laptop thing. When it first came out, I had no doubt in my mind that it was fake. I mean, I saw pictures. So you're telling me that they photoshopped a picture of Hunter Biden smoking crack, or they photoshopped all those pictures. I mean, listen, the world we live in now. If you can't tell what Photoshop looks like now, then you've never been on social media. Okay, all of those emails, like you can't fake. I just love how if it doesn't fit the narrative, they'll just lie to your face. But anyway, so basically, like even like GBN and like Breaking Points, they'll say, well, we can't report on this because they'll take us down. So even they were saying like the laptop's real. It's just that if we say it's real, they'll suspend our Twitter. There's take down our Facebook, whatever. So that's how you could tell if like if a news organization is like legit. They'll say that like we're not allowed to report on this because mainstream media or like social platforms will suspend our accounts. Because what happens when you tell the truth? They take your shit down. Like 2 years ago when I was talking about the fantasy flu. Now, if you don't know what the fantasy flu is, then you haven't been listening to this show. But the fantasy flu, when they had all these, when there were like, millions of people were gonna die, and but they're trying to scare you. And I was saying more people have died from the flu, like the seasonal flu, like the flu, like the cold and the flu. I was saying more people have died from the flu. Why are we locking down from this? Now I know it just started, but like I was saying, they already had death numbers, okay? Like 6 months into this fantasy flu thing, and the numbers were just crazy high, right? And then like I would be like, or I would say, some of these are still up, but a lot got taken down. Um, or like six got taken down. But anyway, I would be like, yeah, like dying with the fantasy flu and dying of the fantasy flu are two different things. And if you give these hospitals money for each case they take in, well, they're gonna lie about the numbers. Anytime you throw in money, it messes up the numbers. So at least hospitals here in America, they got money from the government for every fantasy flu patient they had. So what do you think happened with the numbers? Yeah, they got crazy high. Okay. And so what did the CDC do? Was it last week? They reduced the amount of deaths by about, was it 25% or something like that? And then they, like people who died people who died with the fantasy flu. Anyway, guess how many people actually died from it? Like just died from COVID alone. About 10,000 people. Everyone else, the 150 some thousand people who died from the fantasy flu, they died with it, not because of it. Okay? Meaning they had like corporate morbidities. They had like, whatever, like five other things wrong with them, four other things wrong with them, and they happen to have the fantasy flu at the same time. But if you just count people who died from the fantasy flu alone, roughly 10,000 people. We're shutting down the country. We're shutting down the world. We're shutting down America's economy for a flu that killed 10,000 people. But like, you know, if you would have said that, well, you did say that 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. You got taken down, or at least for me, you had those videos. YouTube would remove those videos. So that's why YouTube is not, like when YouTube promotes a mainstream news network, I don't watch it because YouTube is part of the problem. When it comes to disinformation or misinformation or false information, because YouTube doesn't promote the independent news sources that actually tell you the truth. So once again, that's why I say you got to be careful where you get your news from, and take it with a grain of salt. And you know what the sad thing is? I came on the mic because I want to talk about K-pop. I'll do that next show. Okay. Anyway, you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you later. Peace.